We know what David Njoku is today. We know what he did at the end of the season with Flaccavelli. We understand what type of target David Njoku is. But sometimes you got to remind people. People be doing this. I don't like when people are doing this neither. They be telling you, you know what? Nobody could have understood whether or not David Njoku was going to be this good. Liars. Maybe you didn't understand. But your boy G. Bush over here, I told you. And let this serve as a lesson for those that have talked about Jerry Jeudy, because you might end up in the same boat.
Before I get to Bernie.
I don't get it. I think,
well, they haven't. But the reports are, set it up this way. The reports are they're going to give him a $13 million a year extension.
I was surprised they actually put him on the franchise tag, to be honest. I think he's just a guy at tight end. He's a tremendous athlete. He has never been a great player. He's frankly been a below-average tight end in the first 4 years.
I'm okay
of his
with
career.
the franchise tag.
I don't want it, but
I don't
why
want an
would you give him
extension
an
that makes
extension?
it would make him in the top 5 highest paid tight ends in football.
There are like 3 or 4 tight ends worth a lot of money.
Well, that's the
not
thing. This is a supply and demand issue.
Right.
There's just not a lot of very good tight ends.
But Jason,
I would not.
But he's had 5 years to prove that he's in that elite group, and to me, he has not done that.
The Bengals tight end last year, C.J. Uzomah, just signed with the Jets. Like, David Njoku's not any better than C.J. Uzomah. He's not.
But
they're in the same group.
But Stefanski values tight end. So if you
go
value
get another tight end, I don't have to pay $13 million a year to.
Well, he might like his skill set. Here's the thing: David Njoku is not garbage. Let's be clear.
He's garbage.
I mean,
agree.
he has a skill set. He's fast. He can get the ball.
He can't hold the ball.
He's had a lot of key
Just
drops.
don't hit him in the
big
hands.
moments.
Just don't hit him in the hands. Throw it 6 feet over his head. That's why Baker liked him so much.
I will say this. His value increased the second Deshaun Watson got on the team. So all your little small receivers and the receivers that don't really do anything, just think how they do with Aaron Rodgers. They go there and play with Aaron Rodgers, they're great.
But I'm not giving him an extension now. He's back. Let's see it.
Freezing cold takes. Listen, man, every single time we get to talking about money and how much somebody is worth, people forget that they actually gotta project certain things. I talked about this with Jerry Jeudy, and it's the same thing. All you have to do is substitute David Njoku's name and put Jerry Jeudy in, and it's the same conversation. He's inconsistent. He hasn't been balling. He hasn't done this. He's not as good as he thinks he is. Why do we have to pay him that $13 million? Well, guys, listen, the reason you don't do that, whether you do go ahead and pay those guys, is because you're projecting what those guys look like in your system. You're believing in your development. You're believing in what and projecting what you feel he's going to be able to do. I don't understand why baseball guys, now we got a panel, all those guys, Jason, Bull, Jay, all those guys are baseball guys. Why is it that you can understand the concept of liking a prospect in baseball in the minor leagues when we haven't seen him do it yet? But yet and still, you won't trade these prospects. You covet these prospects. You hold them in such high esteem. And you talk about, well, we love the fact that he has a great curveball and his fastball is at 98 miles an hour. Well, he hasn't won any games. It's just double A. It's just minor leagues. No, but we feel like that translates to the big leagues. You got a guy that doesn't necessarily hit for power, but they say, well, listen, he has a great swing. His exit velocity is good. He has a lot of loud outs, and I think he's going to even get better and more and stronger, and I think he's going to be at one of the power corners at right field. How can you understand that when it comes to baseball? But you have to have a guy who already had 1,200 yards in the league for you to extend him. Well, that's not the way it works, because generally speaking, if a guy is getting all of those touches, you're going to be paying way more money. You're going to be bidding for those guys. I get the fact that he wasn't putting up certain numbers, but what he was able to do is they took a look at it and said he's greatly improved in terms of blocking. We like the fact that he's one of the most athletic tight ends that is in the league. We feel like his hands are continuing to get better. And so we're giving him a contract now before the market explodes, or now before he comes out and we don't extend him and he has a great year. And now that price is going to be 2 or 3 times higher because we didn't get in front of this. And so what happens is this is what it looks like when you do get to development, because you start to see people like Bernie Kosar come back a few months ago and say, remember when we thought David Njoku really wasn't that good? Well, guess where he's looking and guess where he's at now. I guess you don't have a problem with the contract now, do you, boys?
Before I get to Bernie, I asked you guys the question, is Njoku the most underrated tight end in football? And Bernie sitting back here goes, let me get on this topic. So, Bernie.
I was coming through the screen on that. I've taken since David got here, what is it, Jay, 6-7 years ago? And as you guys...
he was the youngest player in the draft that year.
And being one of the youngest guys, not even able to drink yet, being a first-round draft pick. And a lot of people joke with me about my bias towards him because of the University of Miami.
Yeah.
And I knew of him because of that. But his athleticism and his presence, and Jace, you probably see it a lot more than some of us in the locker room, is so dominant right now. And the way he's really galvanized, I believe, that locker room. And then playing as a tight end, this is, and I love Kittle, and I love the Kelce's, Travis Kelce and that, no question. But he now, I believe, can be talked at in that level. And his physical presence with our tackles, we talked about this the last 2 weeks here on the show. Man, I mean this to be funny, is I really don't exactly know who our tackles have been the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, they've done awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how awesome you guys have done. But having this tight end next to you right there, and for David Njoku to be making plays like that with his athleticism, but then being a stone-cold tough guy blocker at the end man of the line of scrimmage is one of the really big keys, I think, to this Joe Flacco resurgence of our offense and stuff. He's doing it in the passing game for sure, we see. But he's more impressive to me in what he's doing blocking in and around the line of scrimmage, and that makes him, to me, one of the best, if not the best all-around tight end in the NFL right now.
Go ahead and say that again. Don't take my word for it. See, what be happening is a lot of times, and y'all notice it, people tell me. See, a lot of times, because I am funny, I don't try to be. I just, because I do have a lot of facets to my personality, a lot of times people don't give me, credit for certain takes that I got because they think it's just like me being over the top or me being the Duke and knee-jerk and leaning into that. But if you listen and if you watch it and you're an astute person, you go back and you say, well, listen, dang, G. Bush been right about a lot. Dang, he was right about DeJuan Jones. He told you that the Guardians was going to have to change their name. I was the first person to say, well, y'all are crazy, bro. How is it that you get mad at Kaepernick, but they let people fly Confederate flags? That's the most disrespectful thing to one flag is another one that was insurrectionists and traitors use. So for me, I've been telling you a lot of stuff. People, Odell Beckham was washed, and then they watched him in the Super Bowl. I told him, hey, look, 3-4 years in advance, hey, listen, Baker ain't gonna get it done. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. I told you Flaccavelli was going for 300 3 weeks in a row. I was the guy who said PJ Walker. Guess what? 49ers, we gonna win that football game. There's a lot of different things I done said. If you go back and look at it, you're like, man, he was right about a lot of stuff. And the David Njoku contract is just one item on the pile of I told you that what it was. David Njoku at that time, sometimes you see something in a person that other people is just looking at face value and stats. Now, those comments that we saw before are a stark comparison to what we saw then. Because now it ain't just G. Bush saying it. It's one of the best quarterbacks with one of the most respected football minds in the game saying it. And that hits different. But always remember that, everybody can be wrong. I just did a blog on Friday talking about why I was wrong about Kevin Stefanski. Ain't no harm and no foul. Just come back and own it. See, I'm the dude that own it. If I'm wrong, I come back and be like, that was me. I own it. I was tripping. But sometimes you got to remember the past and bring it back up so you don't make the same mistakes in the future. So as we talked about David Njoku and his lack of production and why you didn't see they should give him a contract, just remember that Jerry Jeudy's situation is strikingly has a lot of the same, looks from the outside when you talk about extensions and contract and money. Sometimes you're projecting. And the Browns did a great job of projecting with David Njoku because right now he is one of the best tight ends in the league, and that is not debatable.